All right. What is it today? Thursday. Happy Thursday. We're doing another live edition of 12 Faces of Sober Speaks podcast. This is episode 61. Tonight's guest is Keola, and I'm definitely looking forward to this. I've been following her actually. I met her through Hanif. He's on here as well, and I've been in a few chat rooms with her on Clubhouse, and some great discussions. And so what I wanted to do was have her on, and let her share her story and some of the things that she has going on right now. And let me see if I can add her on. Okay, here we go. Again, welcome those who are tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Well, hello. How you doing?
Hi, how's it going? Happy Thursday. Doing
Happy Thursday to you.
pretty good. I was on a boat earlier today, so I'm still I'm still
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
right. Rub it
like,
in. Rub it in, because it's all cold out here in Minnesota.
oh, well, I mean, it wasn't like we were doing a celebration of life, so it was a
Oh yeah.
a little chilly, but it was more the like the up and down that I'm standing still and I'm like, "Oh, wait, I still feel." It's crazy how the ocean does that to you. you can
Yeah.
still you can still feel it. But yes, also in California the sun did come out and it was probably a cool 77, 75 degrees. So we're a little spoiled.
Yeah, it's I think it's in the fort or was in the 40s. What's going on, Alex? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Big shouts out to Canada. So as I was saying, Keola, I've been following her now, I would say at least 8 months,
Oh
give
wow.
or take. Yes. And 'cause like I said, Hanif, when was Hanif having those groups in Clubhouse? Was that like,
Oh yeah, so we are the women are still meeting on there. I will say the ladies are still
okay,
meeting. We need to do another family meeting.
okay,
And what I realized was that Thursdays, probably during football season for the brothers, might not be the best day. So
that is true.
he and I were texting actually a week or two ago about doing another co-ed room on a Tuesday evening. So
Hmm.
but yeah, his club on Clubhouse is called Sobriety in Black, and that's how we got connected there. So definitely, I mean, you just confirmed how important it is to keep those conversations going. So I will be reaching out to him again to make sure we get those back on.
Most definitely. And big shouts out to my big bro, Felton out in Phoenix, Arizona.
Hey
Much love for
everybody.
tuning in. Like I said, this is 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast, episode 61. My guest is Keola. And so let's hear it. So are you from California?
I was actually born in Utah randomly, but
Oh,
yes,
wow.
I mean, I lived in Utah for 2 years, but
Okay.
I'm from California. Besides that, I grew up in the high desert. I grew up in Apple Valley, California. It's a tiny little desert
Hmm.
town on the way to Vegas. Small little town, and I proudly represent it. My all of us, my siblings and I. There's five of us. We're all basically coming out of LA at this point, but I'm the only one who still claims to be from Apple Valley. I'm not from LA. I just live in
Okay.
LA.
Yeah, because like I tell people I'm from California, even though I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. But like I said,
Yes,
I was only there for maybe like 4 months of my life. So I
exactly.
anybody ask me, it's San Diego for sure.
Right, right.
No, even though I haven't lived there since 2000, but I still
Yeah,
claim it, based off of all the San Diego hats I be wearing and stuff.
exactly. Well, that's where you grew up. Your formative
Hmm.
years were there. So that makes sense.
Hmm. So so let's get into the meat and potatoes. So how was it for you growing up? Did you grow up around, was it a household of, drinking, using of drugs? How
Yes,
was it
yes.
like that for you those early years?
Yeah, definitely. So my parents met when they were 15. They have been together since they were 15 years old. They met at Disneyland. So I
Mm,
do have that, childhood sweetheart foundation of long, long love. However, with that comes, kids growing up together and still getting to learn how to be adults with each other.
Hmm.
My dad started using substances in high school, and when I was probably 3 or 4 years old, fell into addiction. And that was a battle for, we'd be messing up the numbers, but I will say 10 years of a struggle. And he's been sober for 25, 27 years, somewhere around there. So I did grow up in a household where one of my parents was moving through addiction and moving towards sobriety. It's not something that I ever saw. It's not something that ever happened around me in my face. The aftermath is what I saw. The coming home after being gone for 3 days, the stress on my mom's face, the stress on my dad's face. And so even though I never saw any substances being used right in front of me, I saw the fallout from addiction and how that impacts a household. And so as much love as there was in my household, as much as my parents loved each other, and I grew up in an extended family that was very loving, and we were, taken care of, and we ate dinner all the time. I can remember maybe 1 or 2 times the hot water heater was cut off for a day or two, but my mom boiled some water. She boiled some water on the stove, and we never went hungry or anything like that. It was more of the emotional neglect that comes when one parent is struggling with addiction, and then my mom, the other parent, is enabling and kind of codependent, wanting to try to keep the family together because that's what she thought was the best thing for us. But what happens is that when all your energy is going into trying to get your husband sober, your kids can miss out. And then with my dad, when he was I understand what recovery is like. Recovery as a parent, I can't, with 4 or 5 kids, that had to be hard. And so wanting to be better for himself, but then not having the tools to be there for us as well. So I experienced addiction in that way as a kid. More so the fallout from it and the aftermath of what happens when you don't necessarily have the right tools. My mom didn't know to seek out counseling or therapy for us. When the word addiction was thrown around, when my dad first started taking trips to rehab or trying to break the addiction, they didn't even realize that you could get addicted to anything except for alcohol. That's all that they knew as kids. Or like my dad said, he heard about heroin, but he didn't know that cocaine you could get an addiction there. And so they just were so unaware, uneducated, and unprepared for what they were facing. And again, as much love as was there and as much encouragement and support as they would give us, they still had this missing piece to allowing us as kids to heal from the aftermath of my dad's addiction. And so we're doing that now. You probably have heard my dad talking on Clubhouse, but the truth is, this is, 30 years later, we're just now talking about it. We never really talked about his addiction when I was a kid, or his recovery, or what recovery was, or any of those things. We didn't talk about it until, my recovery. I'm the one that when I went into, my own recovery journey, I was like, we need to talk about this, Dad, because I did 12 steps, and that was one of my resentments, was holding on to those things that happened when I was a kid. So the household was full of love, and at the same time full of pain, if that makes sense.
Now let me ask you this. As you mentioned, you witnessed it as you were growing up.
Right.
Your father struggling with addiction, and this is a question, I guess, even for myself, is that what was it like for you in terms of like witnessing it yourself? Like, what were some of the like emotions that, like, hey, my father's intoxicated, or as you mentioned, he's going to rehab. Were you able to understand it, process it?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, such a good question. Nobody's ever really asked me this before. Maybe once in therapy. I think I had one conversation in therapy. It was frustrating, and people don't seem to think that 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid would have these kind of feelings. And so this was the routine for my dad, was that he would go out on a Friday and be gone Friday night, be gone all day Saturday, be gone most of Sunday, and then come back Sunday night. Come back Sunday night, kind of, slumped over, head down, looking a little ashamed, and go, right into the room, and that was kind of what it was. So while I probably saw him coming down from his high, I saw shame, and then I felt confused. I felt bad. I wondered how maybe there's something I could do as an 8-year-old kid, a 10-year-old kid, thinking maybe there's something I could do to help my dad, and now knowing, obviously, there's nothing I could have done as a kid, but I didn't know that. I also could see the stress on my mom's face. I could see that she looked worried, that she looked concerned, that she looked frustrated. And then I could feel the kind of tension between them when he would come back home. So a lot of emotions there. And again, these are emotions that I didn't get to process, or emotions that no one acknowledged. We just didn't talk about it. Dad's gone for 3 days. I asked my mom, where is he? She said, I don't know. If I knew where he was, I would tell you. No, she knew what he was doing, but she was being honest in that she didn't know exactly where he was. She knew what he was up to, but she didn't know exactly where he was. So again, she had no tools to say, your dad's out doing drugs, he's addicted to, and I don't know where he is, I don't know when he's going to come home, and it is what it is. When I was a little older, when he came home one time, my mom said, you can go ahead and ask him where he was. And he told me. I was out getting high with my friends. And I'm like, between 8 and 10 years old. And I'm like, well, Dad, little innocent kid, next time your friends invite you out, why don't you just say no? Why don't you just say no? And that was, I'll never forget that conversation, that moment, and seeing, he's heartbroken just hearing his daughter say, why don't you just say no? But obviously now, as a person in recovery, I realize it's not that easy. It's not that easy. We would have all done that. So yeah, some of the emotions, frustration, confusion, just feeling sad, feeling anxious, not knowing exactly what was going on or why things were happening the way they were happening. And that is a lot for a kid to carry, and for it to not be acknowledged whatsoever.
And do you think that if you would have gotten a better understanding, or even in therapy at that age, it would have been helpful for you?
Oh, of course it would have been so helpful. I mean, it would have made such a difference. It would have been helpful for my entire family, especially my older sister, who's 5 years older than me, and then my parents, right? So the 4 of us are the ones who were most aware. I have a sister that's 2 years younger than me, and so even just that 2-year difference changes level of awareness, where as a 6-year-old, you're not as aware as much as an 8-year-old. And so myself, my older sister, my mom, and my dad, had we gotten counseling, had we gotten some therapy, had we gotten some kind of support, had my older sister had a place to go talk to someone and say, hey, I've been seeing this since I was 8 years old, and I'm 14 now, and it's the same thing. If she was able to voice those frustrations as a kid, our lives would be completely different. And at the same time, though, it happened the way it was supposed to happen, because now we talk about it. We're advocates for therapy. My mom and I are actually in a peer support specialist certification program right now. My sister just graduated the peer support specialist certification, and my dad is now much more open to talk about his experience. And I think what happened is he was so ashamed, so ashamed, that he just figured, let's just not talk about it. Nobody, I'm a loser and my kids hate me, and so I'm just going to move on with my life and never talk about it. And we've had to tell him, that's not the case, Dad. We were all hurting. It wasn't about, hate. It was about hurt. And now that we're older, let's address it, and let's all heal from this, so that we can be an example to another family, especially Black folks. And I know Hispanic folks, Latin folks, Asian folks. I'm gonna just say all people of color going to therapy and getting counseling, that's generally not the first thing that we are suggested to do. It's church, it's spirituality, or it's like
Don't say nothing. Yeah,
don't talk about that.
we'll push.
Don't
Yeah, keep
yeah.
that as a family secret.
It's a family secret, you know, and it's like, damn, we're gonna weigh the whole family down with this heaviness, and then everybody is affected by it. And that's what happened. You know, my dad dove headfirst into church. That was the way that he moved through his recovery. He did attend rehab, I think 2 or 3 separate occasions, and got all those tools. For him, spirituality was his way. And that's great. Also with that, there was a little crossover of, I would say, overuse of church because it became like we all had to participate in church with him because that was his thing that was keeping him sober. And it was a little extreme. At the same time, hey, I'm grateful that my dad's got, 20 plus years substance free. So again, it's one of those things where I'm the kind of person that, like, I'm always going to see the bright side. I'm always going to look at the glass half full. And even though it wasn't, there was challenges, I didn't even know what the word trauma when it comes to emotions was until I was in my 30s. I knew trauma, like ER, emergency. I had no idea that people experience trauma. That's how just uneducated and unaware. I just thought this is just normal. This is just how life is. Shit happens. People get hurt. You buck up and you just keep on going. And that's not it. You got to address that stuff, and talk about it. So I saw somebody said cultural differences need to be talked about way more. Definitely a cultural aspect mixed with generational that still exists. Yeah. So do you think this will ever change? I see that another same person, I'm Hispanic, and in my culture it's similar. Everyone struggles but doesn't talk about it, or thinks what I'm doing to help people publicly is weird. And it's so not weird. We are changing the narrative for our community. As a Black man talking about recovery openly, you're changing the narrative for generations. Like, this is, and we're just getting started. That's why I'm excited about it.
I agree 100%. And that's, to me, is at least, from my own personal experience, like seeing my father struggle with alcohol for years, like we didn't talk about it. It was like, okay, we knew he, would drink, or, when he was still in the Navy, like you said, Friday and Saturdays, he would get off work, blast the music, military police would come. And then during the week, nobody would talk about it. But once the weekend came, it was, it was a cycle, and we witnessed it. And that's kind of one of those things where it's like, I am glad that we are able to address these issues. I'm glad that I'm today in therapy. I had a therapy session yesterday. Yes. These are things that I didn't even know was possible before I joined the military. It was like, okay, I'm getting into trouble. Like, no, we need to send you to therapy. Let's try to figure out some of these issues you have. And like you said, I mean, starting with that, it is breaking that generational curse that, that, like you said, our parents didn't have the luxury, or like you said, they would go somewhere for the weekend, we not knowing what's going on. Regardless of it, they were getting help, or they were actually out there using, and like I said, and they didn't have the technology that we have today. Right. To where, like I said, we can surf different different people's pages and be like, okay, let's hear what they have to say and their story and stuff like that. So I definitely, I'm liking the interview so far. So thank you for that. Yeah. But let's move forward. So when was it that you actually started to experiment and use yourself? How old were you when that happened?
Yeah. So when I finally got my hands on something, I was 15, but it was that 8 to 10-year-old girl that decided, well, shit, if my dad's out for 3 days at a time, whatever he's doing must be a good time, because he's not even coming home. I'm trying that. I'm doing that. I don't know what he said. He's getting high with his friends. Oh, even I'm like, okay, well, whatever it is, it must be good. I'm trying it. I had decided as a child that I was going to do these things because I saw my grandparents drinking at their house for holidays. I saw my aunties and uncles drinking at holiday parties. Everybody looked like they were having a good time. And then once I became a teenager and I had access, I was like, perfect.
I want to
pour me
try
one.
it too.
Let's
I
do it.
want to try it
Try
too.
whatever you have. I knew for sure alcohol was trying. I knew weed I was trying. In college, you know, kind of expanded a little bit more to other substances. And so 15 was the first time I had a drink, and alcohol was my kryptonite. It was the one thing that, even over weed, alcohol was the thing that, like, I could still be loud and crazy and fairly coherent, but it just shut down all of the anxiety while I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Next day, anxiety's back worse than it was before. One of my sober sisters made such a good point, and she said, you know what, I realized why I chose alcohol? Because I don't got to call a dealer to get alcohol. It's the easiest, most accessible drug of all. You don't got to wait on nobody for nothing. All you need is some coins and a liquor
Walking with
store.
a valid ID.
And a
Well, at least
valid
in some
ID,
places.
yes.
In some places, a valid ID. Yeah, that's very
So
interesting.
that makes it, and you wonder, you know what I'm saying? Like, why that is the drug that is abused more than any other drug. It's the most dangerous of all the drugs for reasons like that. You don't have to wait on anybody. Now you can get alcohol delivered to your house. You can order it from Walmart. One of my clients said, I'm thinking about ordering something. And I'm like, first of all, well, damn, I didn't even know you could order. Like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. They'll deliver it to your house. So accessibility made it easy. It's quick. You know what I'm saying? It's quick. I don't have to wait for anything to onset. And I'm rip roaring ready to go. I started bartending. So I was like, I'm going to just immerse myself fully in this one. I'm going to get free drinks. I'm going to pour drinks. I'm going to be around drinks. That's what we're doing. And so from 15 until 35 it was a 20 years of that. And I will say, was every time I drank horrible? Of course not. It wasn't every single time. What happened for me was the progressing from this being fun and it's cute, it's college, we're having a good time, to drinking more than everybody else, drinking more often than everybody else, drinking so much that my personality changed. You know, it's starting to get in the way of family relationships and romantic relationships, and starting to get in the way of work, and starting to get in the way of my health. And that's when I said, I got to do something. You know, I have to change. Somebody said your dad stayed clean even after you fell into. Yeah, my dad definitely stayed. He's been over 20 years. Right. Oh my goodness. Well, I think that as a parent, if you are in recovery as a parent and you see your child going through something similar, even though there were different substances, you know, that's a good question. I'm going to ask him. I'm just going to ask him, like, what was it like for you being in recovery, seeing me going through addiction, or going through alcohol use disorder or alcoholism, whatever you want to call it. And knowing that there may be some root, you know, tied to, I don't blame anybody though. It's nobody's fault. It's not even a fault. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my journey, and this is what, you know, happened for me and to me. And I never said, well, it's because of my childhood. No, I have anxiety. You know, I'm a person that lives with anxiety, and that was the substance that gave me the first sense of relief from anxiety. I didn't even know that though until I started working with a sponsor. I didn't know that I was using alcohol to manage or cope with anxiety. I thought it was a good time until it wasn't a good time anymore. And then as I learned and moved through, oh, okay, this is maybe where the anxiety stemmed from, some things that happened in childhood, and also my personality by nature. This is who I am. And I never will attach it to, it's because of my childhood that I drank. I drank because I wanted to, and then it started to be something, you know, it's addictive. It was, of course, I went back for more and more because that was the way that I felt good, until I stopped feeling good and started feeling bad. So yeah, 15 is when it started. 35 was when it ended. Thank goodness. I hope to never go back.
and let me tell you, because like you had me thinking, because my mom, she described it best, was like, because I favor my dad a lot, and she said the times that you were drunk, you look just like your father. Some of the same things that you would say, some of the things that you did, your facial expressions.
Wow.
And I was just like, she was like, I was reliving the 80s all over again. And I was just like, that right there hit a little different.
Yeah.
And now so you said about 35 is when you realized, but during that time, did you face any problems? Did you
Hell
have
yeah.
run-ins with the law? Did you catch
Right.
a DUI in any of that good stuff?
I caught all of that. I caught it all. Kidding.
Okay.
I
Okay.
caught a DUI. I
Hmm.
caught a fighting a domestic violence, punching somebody.
Oh,
I caught jobs lost. I caught car lost. I caught family relationships broken. I had 7 seizures that I remember. Um, all of the things, keys lost, wallet lost, purse lost, all of the things, downward spiral. I also
mm.
got a master's degree during that time.
Oh, wow.
I also opened a fitness studio during that time. So it was one of those were the reasons that I was like, I don't need help. I'm in grad school, I don't need to, yeah, I got a DUI, but I got a master's degree too. So it was very challenging for me to accept getting help because I had these accomplishments. I was checking off all the boxes. But it was not too long after I graduated with my bachelor's degree. That was when I had my first, well, it wasn't really the first one. That's when I had the one that I finally verbalized, this is not cute anymore. I had multiple situations through college, that would have been, like, hey, maybe you should slow down. But the one that I verbalized it was missing work, waking up to a bunch of missed text messages and missed phone calls from clients who I was supposed to be at the gym training, but I blacked out and slept through my alarm and, woke up at 10 or 9 a.m. when I was supposed to be at the gym at 5 a.m. That was when
Wow.
I said, wow, okay, I missed work. That had never happened before. I had never missed work because of drinking. And so once that happened, I said, I got to do something different. I don't want to be this person. I need to change something. Now that lasted for maybe 2 weeks, and then started it's maybe I'll just cut back a little. I don't need to quit fully. That was a one-time thing. I made a mistake. I won't let that happen again. I'll make sure to set my alarm louder, and I'll put my phone right next to me so that way I'll never miss work again. Kept on drinking. So that was 2008. 2015 was the DUI. So still years later, I was, still drinking, and I still had, in that 20 years, I had multiple, I'll never drink again. That was the worst hangover ever. Obviously the arrest, that slap on the wrist. I was alcohol free for 8 months at that time. And the reason I went back is because I did not tap into community. I know for sure I did all of the things that I was required to do for the court, but I did not tap into community because I still thought that I didn't have that kind of problem, right? I went to the AA meeting that was required, and I was like, I'm not like these people. These people are really messed up. Again, I'm like,
Wow.
I just got my master's degree. Like, these people, I didn't stay long enough to know that there were doctors, lawyers, judges, scientists, authors. I didn't stay in the rooms long enough to hear that all of these people had also had success like I had in education, because I was like, nope, I'm cool on this. I'll just do it my own. I just need to not drink, stay away from my friends, and that'll solve it. But no, not the case. So yes, to answer the question, the problems, yes, I got 2 arrests on my record and 7 seizures. Everybody was pissed at me in the family. Wasn't nobody talking to me, all of those different situations. And I'm so grateful to be healing, to be in the healing point. Just thinking about that, I'm like, man, I was a mess.
Yeah, when you said that you threw out 2008. 2008 was one of the years that I actually had went to rehab here in Minnesota. That was my first stint in rehab.
Yeah.
And like I said, the day I got out of rehab, I was back out drinking because I wasn't ready. It was something that
Yeah.
my family wanted me to do, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do. And it took me 8 more years of all that drinking. And that's when I realized, okay, I gotta make those changes. And that's kind of what it is. And I was gonna say, like, what was, you know, out of all of that, what was like the boiling point? Because I mean, did you have the 7 seizures all at once, or this was in like different occasions? So like, out of all the stuff you just mentioned, what
Yeah.
was the boiling point to say, you know what, enough is enough? Not just, okay, I'm gonna take a break for 8 months or
Right.
a couple weeks. Like, what was it to say, you know what, I got to really and truly make some changes?
Right.
Congratulations on 4 months sober to sober mama.
Sober mama. Yes, congratulations on that. And thank you everybody for all the questions. Hey, everybody out there that's listening. So the moment, right? Now you would think it was the DUI. You would think it was maybe seizure, maybe at least seizure number 3, No, it wasn't seizure number 3. You would think maybe it was the seizure the day after Thanksgiving in front of my entire family. Now my whole family has seen this level of my drinking. They all witnessed this happening to me,
Mm,
knowing it was because I woke up, drinking from the night before. I woke up drunk, started continuing drinking, smoking weed. They saw that happen. The other seizures was around party friends. Nobody told anybody. I never told my family. They never saw that. And luckily, lucky to be alive. Are you kidding me? I just called it blacking out, but now I learned what was actually happening. The extreme low blood sugar was
mm,
onsetting these seizures. So you would think it would have been the one in front of my family. No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. You would think maybe the come to Jesus meeting that my family had, the full intervention. Hey, we're concerned. Nope, it wasn't that. It wasn't the DUI. It wasn't getting arrested a second time. None of those things were it. And you said it, you hit the nail on the head. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
mm,
I still had either a lesson to learn, or I don't know what the hell now, thinking back. But what happened is I was running a business that I thought was my dream. I thought that my ultimate dream was to have a studio, a fitness studio with classes and workshops. And I had that opportunity. I was given that opportunity. I was in it, living in it, and realizing, wow, maybe this isn't it. Maybe there's something else that I'm like missing out on, and I'm not taking advantage of it because I have this crutch that I'm leaning on of alcohol. I also was in a very unhealthy relationship at that time. I had finally had, I think, one sister was talking to me out of my 3 sisters. My parents were, my mom has always had my back, but I felt my dad, even my grandmother, everybody was kind of like, I don't know, Keola is on some other shit. Like, I don't know what she's doing. And so when you lose those many connections around you, and life just starts to get to a point where you're like, I have no car, my business is not working the way that I want it to, I don't have the friendships that I want. I was just tired. Honestly, I was just
mm,
tired. I knew that I deserved better. And I went to a retreat. I went to a retreat in Cuba that year, 2018. And I told myself, I'm going to this retreat. It's a healing retreat. It was in June of that year. I said, I'm not going to drink at all when I get there. I'm going to go to Cuba and I'm just going to heal and not drink. Now that didn't happen. I drank every single day while I was there because
mm,
the rum was cheap. But I met this woman who encouraged me to address my dad's addiction. She happened to be a woman in recovery. I call her my godmother to this day. And she said, well, Keola, you've never been to therapy with your dad? Your dad had a drug addiction for 10 years and you guys never went to therapy? I was like, no, we're good. And she said, no, honey, you're not good,
mm,
and it was that conversation that sparked me to get into family therapy, and then having those sessions with my parents and having a little more time to understand that impacted me.
mm,
And now I can see, oh man, maybe I'm drinking because I have anxiety, and maybe I have anxiety and so I started putting the pieces together.
mm.
So I would say that's what sparked it, was that retreat. The retreat and that conversation sparked you need to heal. You need to
Mm,
heal. Something is still hurting inside of you. Something is still broken. Something needs to be addressed. Now that was in June. October 2018 came and I was like, I know I need to quit drinking, but I want to get through the holidays first. You know, I say that now. Every time I tell this story, I'm like, oh, it's like so stupid. You know, like don't wait. If you were thinking
Yeah,
about quitting drinking, don't wait until January.
yeah,
Start right now.
yeah.
But you know, hard-headed me, I just wanted to roll through. I had it how I wanted to do it. And January 1st, I did walk into a room, and I've been in recovery ever since. So it was I would say that conversation, it was somebody telling me, somebody acknowledging that there was unhealed parts of me is what sparked me to finally face alcoholism and alcohol use disorder.
And then, so how has, I know you mentioned about the seizures. How has, have you had seizures since stop drinking and using?
No, I have not. Not
Okay,
one. Not a single one. It was
that's
fully
good. Amen
onset.
to that.
Yeah, fully onset by alcohol, fully onset by extremely low blood sugar, high blood sugar, those up and downs that happen when you're drinking a lot, and then you're not eating the right things. And the crazy, ironic part about it is this whole time I'm studying human movement, health, fitness, nutrition. This is what I'm majoring in both undergrad and grad school. And I have this daemon that's just dragging me down, you know, at the same time. So it was just so ironic that I knew what to do. I knew how to get healthy, physically healthy, but I had already had this relationship with alcohol, you know, long before I ever started studying the, you know, the body and the mind and health and all of those things. So I'm very grateful that don't have to experience that, you know, anymore. And it's also something that I think people don't talk about, how common that is, how often that happens to folks. So you think you're passed out, and what really happened is your brain was starting to shut down.
Mhm.
So yeah, very grateful to be 100% healthy ever since I started my journey.
What's going on, Tia? Thank you for coming in. Really do appreciate it.
Hey everybody.
And thank you to everybody for tuning in, and thank you for the questions and participating. Now, the reason why I asked the question in terms of health is because I, you know, during my time of drinking, I had found out that I had, you know, diabetes. And so I had, you know, when I was drinking, I had put on all this weight, and probably I was up to about 240. Now I'm about 185. And
Wow.
so the good thing about it is that I'm still working on the diabetes. I have a small, slight sweet tooth,
Mm-hmm.
and but I don't eat as much candy as I used to. But I think that definitely has been something of importance. You know, taking care of my health compared to when I was out there drinking and I didn't care. I wasn't going to my doctor's appointments as much as I should have. You know, especially after that first year, like they would have a long list of appointments scheduled for me, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm sick. I don't feel good today. I don't want to go." Until I came up here after I left Phoenix in 2016, and I came up here, it was like, all right, now it's time to take this serious, you know, because this is that chance, you know, because I had issues with my pancreas, was in the
Yeah.
hospital 2 times for that, almost died behind it, and so that is important. Is that, you know,
Yep.
once, you know, being that we did abuse our bodies and didn't, you know, take advantage of, you know, our temples,
Yep.
now it's like we have to, especially in recovery, and you know, if something's not right within us, we can now take care of it compared to before. It was like, oh, okay, I gotta, my knee hurts or something. Oh, I ain't got to worry about it. This time I'm gonna take a drink. It'll be the pain to go away, you know, and
Yes.
that's not how it should be. But it's definitely something. So for those out there, if you have any health issues and you're, you know, early in recovery or even got some time under your belt, address them. Even the
Address
mental
it.
health, address them, because you don't want to go to the doctors one day and to give you some bad news. And I'm not
Yeah.
laughing. I'm just saying the truth, because I got my heart broke a few times when it came to that, because I was just like, man, like I wasn't thinking about it when I was just taking that, you know, that 40 ounce to the head. I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, let's drink. I'm with my friends and with my family and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, how
Somebody
has,
asked, do
oh,
we
right.
crave sugar? Yes. Sugar
Yeah.
cravings in sobriety is 100% normal, common. If you don't have a sugar craving in sobriety, you got something else going on probably, because the reason we crave sugar, the reason we crave sugar in early sobriety or in recovery is because our body is calling for dopamine. We took out our dopamine source. It doesn't matter what the substance was. This is common across all substance use disorder in recovery. No matter what your drug was, the sugar cravings hit as your body calling for dopamine. And so be mindful of that, because I'm like you, Tia. I used to eat salt and vinegar chips. I'm more like put on the gravy, give me the salty stuff. 3-4 weeks into sobriety, I was eating licorice, gummy bears, jelly beans, all the candy. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
You know? And my sponsor didn't know how to explain it to me. And this is one reason I'll say that I'm happy that I've expanded my support system beyond just AA, because as amazing as my sponsor was, he didn't know the science behind, he didn't understand the science behind the human body to explain to me it was dopamine that my body was looking for. And so I give people this advice when it comes to the sugar cravings. First of all, in those first 90 days, eat that candy. Eat the candy. Just eat the candy. The first 90 days is not the time to say, I'm going to do a juice cleanse and I'm going to start yoga. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to read all these books. You know what? Easy does it. Easy does it is one of the 12 steps quotes. Easy does it. So right now, be gentle, eat the candy. As you start to get strong in your sobriety and your routines, the things that you can start bringing in are your favorite fruit. Keep your house, your car, your purse full of accessible things like a banana, an apple, an orange. Keep those things on hand, so when the sugar craving hits, you can answer the craving with sugar, natural sugar. What you're getting from fruit is you're getting fiber, you're getting vitamins, you're getting nutrients that you're not going to get from licorice like I was having. And then we want to start bringing in organic dopamine. So you want to start doing things that are rewarding, taking actions that are rewarding, so that your brain can release dopamine, because we have the ability to release it, to create it naturally. We have to remember that we were flooding our bodies with it, with the substance. We were getting these big hits of it. And so sometimes you're recovering from those big hits that you were getting. And this is where we can fall into overdoing things, over exercising. Oh, we want to get into like, okay, I want to feel as good as I did when I drank. It's not going to feel like that. It's just not going to instantly feel like that. And we need to find the balance to bring our tolerance level back to a happy medium, homeostasis, they say. So where your body is in a more balanced place. So we can use food to do that. We want to be mindful though, and be gentle that it's okay. It's okay that right now we're having a little more candy than we used to. And then we want to start building in some new healthy practices. The two main reasons that we relapse, two top causes for relapse that people will, this is going to blow your mind, is actually low blood sugar and neurotransmitter deficiencies. So that means that we are not eating often enough, and we are not eating the right things. So when we are snacking on chips, soda, processed food, fast food, especially in the beginning of our journey, we have to be really careful about doing that, because that could be the thing that gives you a case of the fuckets, as they say in AA, where you're like, you know what? I don't even feel good anyways. I got a headache. Like, let me just do my thing. But if you are filling yourself with nourishing foods, and being mindful about bringing in plenty of protein into your body, plenty of raw vegetables, plenty of fresh fruits into your body, then we give ourselves a fighting chance. I say this also, I'm going to repeat, eat the candy, eat the candy when you need the candy, and then start learning ways to build a much healthier nutrition plan for yourself. There's so many resources now on nutrition. It doesn't have to be any kind of special diet. We all know that fruit and vegetables are good for us, right? We know that. We don't need anybody else. We know fruit is good. We know vegetables are good. For those who eat meat, we know a nice, lean piece of chicken is good. We know a clean piece of fish is good. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you have your protein resources. We know all of those things. It doesn't matter if you know it, if you're not doing it though. So we have to put all the effort and energy that we used to put into going to get that bottle, going to get that pipe, going to get that needle, whatever your thing was, all of that energy, you have to turn that around and put it back into your recovery, making it a priority to get up and take the morning walk, making it a priority to get up and eat a healthy breakfast, making it a priority to get those healthy snacks on hand and do everything that is in your power to rebuild yourself from the inside out. It's there. This is a non-negotiable. I'm, 4 years later, the sugar cravings are a lot less than they were in the beginning. But when I'm working with clients, we acknowledge that the cravings are there. And then when people understand why they're having the cravings, it makes it a lot more, sense, and it makes it easier to move through them, because you say, oh, I know what's happening right now. I don't actually want a donut. I don't actually want to eat these 5 lollipops right now. What I actually want is a little dopamine. So you know what I need to do? I need to get up and take a quick little 30-minute walk, or I need to get up and do some stretching, or I need to get that book and read a couple chapters. I need to do a little tidying up around my house. I need to do something that is rewarding. So finishing a task is going to give you the dopamine hit that you need. That was a long answer to the question. I'm very passionate about this one because it's one of those things where once I learned why it was happening, I said, damn, everybody needs to know this, because if people understand, then you won't just think you're crazy. Like, oh my God, I want candy. You'll know how to address it.
And you go ahead. You want to comment on somebody?
No, I see someone said, I'm 7 months sober, but knowledge such as this is important to understand an addiction. So yes, thank you for that.
And I have a quote, since we're talking about health and everything. You can be extremely physically fit and also be unhealthy.
100%. 100%. You can be extremely physically fit and unhealthy. So listen, bodybuilders, bikini competitors, when they step on the stage, a lot of athletes, when they step on the stage or when they step onto the field to compete, not every person that is fit, looks physically fit, is also extremely healthy. There are extremes that people go to achieve certain looks. And there are extremes that people go to be able to be strong enough to compete. I mean, when you look at an athlete and the possibility for injury, and when you look at the competitor, the physique competitor, we cannot just look at someone's physical body and know for sure if they are healthy or not, because health is not just the outside aesthetic. Mental health is a huge part of it. Your vitals inside is a huge part of it. How you sleep is a huge part of it. So this is one that the body positivity movement has helped in some ways with this and hurt in some ways. So there are people who you can look at them and think, oh, wow, that person's a little overweight. Little do you know, they could do a handstand, a headstand, run a mile in a good time, has no heart issues, and their body carries more weight. And then I can also look at a person who looks extremely fit, but they haven't eaten in 2 days. They've been training 3 times a day. So we need to be mindful that, there are people who look very healthy and are not. There are lots of people who look extremely great and they go home and drink a 6-pack every night, or, they have some other substance that they're abusing. So it's really, the outside is not everything. And also with that, I love the human body. I'm a kinesiology major. The science of what we can do with our bodies has always been so intriguing to me. And so I tell folks, especially fitness and nutrition clients that I work with, don't look at what I'm doing as your goal. I want you to do what you want to do, achieve the body that you want to achieve, and get as strong as you want to, or get, the shape that you want to, because I'm looking at it from like a science perspective of, what can I do now? What shape can I make now? Or how fast can I be? So I look at bodies in that way from like a scientific perspective.
Looks like Pretty Black said her addiction is food and her drug is Newports.
Oh, wow. Okay, so speaking of, yes, having withdrawals and cravings during my fast right now. Okay, so this is something that people do. I don't think we talk about food addiction enough. And like you said, nicotine as a drug of choice. Both of those things can be extremely addictive. We can create relationships, unhealthy relationships with both of those. But it looks like she's fasting right now. looks like you're fasting. I just want to send so much encouragement and support to you. I want you to be mindful with the food piece. There are support groups, just like there is AA. There's a group called Overeaters Anonymous. So if you're looking for support in that way, for other people who are moving through that same addiction, I highly encourage checking in and looking. I'm sure there's other groups that could be supportive. Fellowship, in my opinion, is the key to recovery for me. Talking to other people who have the same experience or similar experiences. So I want to encourage you to get into fellowship if you're not already. And then also there is a program, I did this with a client before, when it comes to cigarettes, which are also, highly addictive, nicotine's highly addictive. It was kind of a cutback program where there's an option to not go cold turkey, but to taper yourself down, to be mindful of the withdrawals. And so I would encourage you also to look into all of the different options for moving through overeating and moving through quitting cigarettes, because there's more than one way to do it. There's more than one way to do this thing and to get this thing right. So definitely want to encourage you, get into fellowship, talk to other people like you're doing right now, continue talking to other people about it, and then also look into all of the different options to help wean you off of cigarettes. The challenge with food is, unlike anything else, we need food, right? We don't need alcohol, we don't need cigarettes, we don't need weed, we don't need other drugs. We do need food. So that is one where if you have the resources to work with a registered dietitian, that would be ideal. It's something you can ask for a referral to through your primary care physician, to be referred to a registered dietitian who would be well versed in supporting you to learn what you need and to create that really good relationship with food. There is a page, okay, Pretty Black. If you DM me, send me a DM and just say, hey, connect me with the registered dietitian, I'll get you connected. I just can't think of her name off the top of my head, but I will make sure to get you connected with her. She is HAES, which stands for Healthy at Every Size, registered dietitian, and I know that she works with disordered eating and food addiction. So definitely we'll get you connected.
Okay, and then let's see. I noticed on your page, okay, well, I just asked, what are your thoughts on non-alcoholic beverages? Is that a thing? Is that a yay or a nay for you? Is that something you...
Yes, it's a yay for me. I got a fridge full right now.
Okay.
In my fridge, I have Stella Zero, I have Heineken Zero, I have Guinness Zero, I have a zero proof wine, I have I just got gifted something called Curious Elixirs, which is a drink that has botanicals in it and adaptogens. So these are drinks with like ashwagandha and hey Claudine. So for me personally, it is a yay. And I also tell folks, you know what's best for you. If you even have a small inkling, if your gut says no, then it's not something to play with. And because we're in a space where we've expanded on our understanding of misuse of alcohol. We used to use one term, alcoholic. That was the one term we used, and it was like, whoever, Uncle Joe's an alcoholic and he needs to go to AA. We're in 2022, damn near 2023, and now we use the term alcohol use disorder, and it has a spectrum. Severe alcohol use disorder, looking at the person who is hospitalized and having withdrawals when they stop drinking, and mild alcohol use disorder, the person who is having hangovers more times a week than they'd like to. They're binge drinking, maybe hasn't had any run-ins with the law, but they realize that they're not having the fun that they used to have. And then there's the person in the middle. And so I think that, again, it's different for every person, but depending where you are in the continuum, you may choose to have or not have non-alcoholic drinks. For some people, it's too much of a cue. The association with the bottle, the scent of the bottle, the taste, it's too much of an association with drinking for them, and it's not a good idea. And for other people, it is For me, it's more of the ritual. It's more of the routine that, hey, I had a long day. I'm going to have, I'm going to have a glass of this non-alcoholic wine, or I'm going to make myself some kind of beverage. And I think that no one can tell you, nobody can tell you if it's a good idea for you or not. They will. I mean, I know AA is going to tell you, don't do it, never do it. It's not a good idea for everyone. And I don't think that that's the case. And I think that everyone has to listen to their own gut and their own intuition to know if it's something that you would include in your recovery or not.
That makes sense. And we're getting close to the end, but since we kind of started off talking about, like, the drinking, or witnessing the drug abuse or alcohol abuse in the home.
Right.
How is it for you today, networking and navigating through the Black sober community?
Ooh, oh my gosh, it's a dream come true. I didn't know how important it was until I got into recovery. I didn't know the need. I didn't know the lack of resources. When I walked into the room that I walked into, it was all Black folks. I walked into a room off Crenshaw and King. If you don't live in LA, you don't know what that means. But I was in the Black Beverly Hills. I was in
Ladera Heights. You in Ladera Heights? Oh yeah, I know.
View Park. So on a little bit on the higher side, I was in View Park. I'm like looking, where is AA in my neighborhood? It was walking distance, so I walked my ass right over there. And so in that moment, my higher power knew this is the room this girl needs to be in, because if I had walked into that room and it wasn't all Black folks, I would not have gone back. I can guarantee you that. Even though I was ready, I wouldn't have gone back to that room. I would have looked for somewhere else to go, because the last thing I was about to do is talk to folks who potentially brought trauma into my life. Not them, not those exact people, but when you grow up as a kid, as the only Black kid in a classroom, you get teased, you get asked questions, and you get poked and prodded. And so I'm like, I'm not about to tell y'all that my dad had a drug addiction for, 10 years. I'm not about to share that with you, because I know that even if you people specifically are not judging, it's just the energy. And so my experience was immediately a Black experience. Then when I moved, I went into other rooms and I felt like, oh yeah, this is just not the same. Like I see there's me and there's this one other guy, and it's just not the same thing. And then I became very active in Sober Black Girls Club. And in Sober Black Girls Club, that's where I really, really got to learn that everybody wasn't having the experience that I had. Every Black woman was not having the experience that I had, where I started my journey being supported. I mean, my sponsor is Black, and being in these Black spaces. So now I do whatever I can to either be a resource or connect people with resources to have experiences where they see other Black faces in their recovery journey. So if you don't have access to it in your inpatient or outpatient rehab, I would like to connect folks with one other person that they can talk to about it. They can communicate with about their journey, so that they have at least an outlet to connect with if they don't have a fully supported recovery space where they see other people of color, other Black folks, somebody who looks like you. You have to have one person at least who looks like you, who you can connect with. So it's a priority for me. I brought the BIPOC room to Reframe. Reframe is the app that I coach on. Reframe is a quitting alcohol app, and they have meetings all throughout the week. So I brought the BIPOC meeting to that app. So for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I also still run a clubhouse room in Sobriety and Black. That's for Black women in recovery. And so that Black women in recovery room is for women recovering from anything, whatever substance you're recovering from, food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. I'm happy to share the link for that, because we have to have safe spaces. We have to. It's one of those things that I openly talk about, but I'm starting to explain it less and less as to why. Because I don't need to tell you why. just believe me when I say the best thing that a non-person of color can do is believe us when we say we need something. If I say that I need something as a Black woman, as a white person, or a Hispanic person or an Asian person, the best thing you can do for me is say, okay, I support that. Don't ask me why do I need it. Just believe me. Just believe me. And I'll leave it at that.
That's it. I dig that. I dig that. Now, you got something going on November 5th. If you would like to share that with the group, and I know it's out west, but you can go ahead and share the details about what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. So in Powerhouse Sister Circle, this is a sample size of a 3-day workshop that's coming in the new year. So this is a women's only event. And if there's any ladies in the LA area or close to the LA area, we have 7 spots left. So the Sister Circle is a 3-hour event. We're starting off with a little bit of goal setting and a values assessment. We're moving on to learning how to speak our truths. And then we're ending it with a workshop called Breaking Body Barriers, which is a movement workshop. So again, this is a sample. It's a small sample of a 3-day workshop. So we condensed it to give you a little taster of what the 3-day workshop will be in the new year. It's called Empower House. The link is in my bio. If you're in the LA area or near the LA area, or if you'd like to sponsor, you could sponsor someone coming to the event as well. We have had a couple sponsored tickets, which was awesome. So we were able to gift a spot to a few ladies. And so again, we have 7 spots left. If you'd like to join, I'd love to see you there.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you, and these ones are pretty good. Why do you think it's important, for one, to be Black and to recover out loud? I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it's important because the world has already labeled Black folks in a certain way. Historically, Black folks already have stereotypes, images that the world has put on us. And so to move through recovery, to openly show that, yes, I was abusing a substance, and yes, I'm no longer abusing a substance, and yes, I'm also proud that I'm moving through recovery, changes the narrative and the view of who we are as people. And even if it's on a small scale or it's just a little bit at a time, it's so important for us to be open about the fact that we're in recovery. It breaks the shame, it changes the narrative, it breaks generational curses, and it gives people an opportunity to see us in a different light. So it's a priority to me to be a Black woman loudly, openly in recovery, talking about my lack of shame and my pride that I'm moving through this healing course. This is not, we were not meant to make it in America. We were damn near left for dead. Without going on a full-on rant about it, we were left for dead. Black folks were left with no resources, nothing, just the clothes on our backs, that's it. And to move through that, and to be able to move through addiction, and to be open, holding jobs, coaching, doing podcasts, talking about it, this is a miracle. I'm screaming.
I would say
see the miracle in action.
Yeah. And I will definitely attest to that as well, because I have my bachelor's is in radio broadcasting. I worked in the radio field up here in Minnesota in the early 2000s, and to actually have my own show where it's what I want, how to program it, how I want to, what type of questions I want, the type of guests I want to have on here. And that's what to me is like a dream come true. You know what I mean? And to be able to be out here and say, hey, look, I am a Black man that's sober, and I'm close to 6 years of being sober. And these are the things that I did during the time of getting sober, to me is what's most important. And let me see, but before I ask this last question, were there any other hobbies or anything that you've picked up during this, during the time, you getting sober and everything, that you may have thought about doing while you were drinking, but now you feel comfortable actually doing today?
I would say it's probably my organizing, which might not seem like a hobby, but I love to help people get their spaces in order. It's just, I find so much joy in walking into a room and I'm like, ooh, if we just move this around here, and I can see, my mind sees where things could go to be more functional. That's something that I do a lot more than I did when I was drinking. And then the other thing is showing up and being of service. I don't know if that's a hobby or not, but I was not volunteering to do anything. You know, I was not trying to do nothing for free. Everything was about like hustle, hustle, hustle. And I still hustle, but I have given so much time to the recovery community, and I'm happy. I will continue to give more. I feel blessed to be able to be having a career in recovery. Never thought that I was going to be in a place where I was working as a coach or a facilitator and being compensated for that. I had no idea that was ever going to happen. And since that has happened for me, I take it even more seriously that I need to somehow be of service all the time. So whether that's showing up at a meeting just to listen, or if that's facilitating like in Clubhouse and Sobriety in Black. So the being of service part, I think it's a hobby we all need to pick up. And I'm a new mom. My son will be 2 years old tomorrow. So there's a lot of things that
Happy early birthday.
I'm learning, you know, I'm learning how to be a mom, which is a hobby of its own.
And then any helpful tips you have for others that are sober curious or just starting out their journey? I know you mentioned about the candy, that the 90, was it the first 90 days of candy, but just any advice you would leave them with?
Yeah. So honestly, if you're listening to this and you're curious about sobriety, I would look into the Reframe app. Reframe is a great app for people who are interested in alternative to AA. If you're sober curious and you're drawn to AA, get yourself to an AA meeting as soon as possible. I would also suggest that you start looking into any kind of support group for anything that you've moved through in your life. So if you are a child of a substance abuser, looking into support groups for that. If you're a person who's moving through any other mental health challenges, anxiety, depression, look into support groups for that. I would encourage you to do anything and everything that you can do to start addressing the things that you know happened to you. I want to encourage you to change your language from what's wrong with me to what happened to me. And looking at it from that perspective, there's nothing wrong with you. You are a whole person created for greatness, and things happen to you along the way that you need to address. Get into therapy if you can, get into counseling if you can, find ways to be in fellowship as often as possible. There's no one answer to this thing. My best encouragement is to reach out and find every resource and give all of those things a try. When it comes to the recovery journey, the sobriety journey, everything is going to help in some way. Everything is going to get you the place and the direction that you want to go. That meeting might not be the perfect fellowship for you, but you're going to learn something in that meeting that says, okay, this wasn't a good fit for me. I'm going to try this. Okay, this was kind of cool, but it's still not my thing. Let me try one more thing. You know what? Now I found my lane. I found my community. But each of those other experiences are going to get you to where you need to be. So try it all. We were down to try all the different drugs. Let's try all the different ways to recover.
Right. And I forgot the plug. You mentioned coaching. What are the other things that you have going that to get more people to follow you that haven't followed you yet, at least?
Yeah, so here on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, Keola Rains. All of my stuff is just my name, Keola Rains. On Clubhouse, same thing. And then I coach on Reframe, and I host meetings on Reframe. So Reframe is a quitting alcohol app. If you download the app, I believe there's a 7-day free trial. And then they do have a membership for the year. What you gain access to there is workshops with amazing facilitators and workshops. We have an in-house doctor of clinical nutrition who does workshops on Reframe, daily meetings for support groups with different subgroups based on age, based on demographics. We also have coaching available in the app. And then for sober Black women specifically, find me on Clubhouse for that room that's there every Wednesday.
Well, Keola, we're definitely going to be doing some collaborating, because there's yes. a whole lot more conversation that we can have. But thank you so much to those who hung out, stayed in, And those who came in on the tail end of the middle, listened and paid attention because Keola was spitting some really good game as far as information. And like I said, I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your truth, being very transparent. And I hope that you guys really got something from the conversation tonight. That's the purpose of 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast, is to have people on that have amazing stories, but some may sound the same and some are different. But then we can also come together and, make it work and, help the next person. And hopefully we were able to help a few people. And clearly we did, because it's just the interaction. And that's what I can say my day is fulfilled and I'm happy. So like I said, once again, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, you guys for tuning in tonight. But this concludes, unless you have any questions or comments for me. Nope.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This is another wonderful episode of 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast. You guys have a wonderful rest of the week and a very safe and blessed weekend. Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.